Welcome back to We Are Already Free, dear humans. You are in the right place. If you are someone who sometimes feels that this modern society of ours is just a little bit gray, a little bit dark and dull, and like there's some magical, mysterious wonder missing from the core of it all, and where did it go, and how do we reconnect with it? How do we find it again? And you made it. You're here. It's happening because we are about to dive into an episode with the lovely Rachel Levine about rituals for intentional living. How do we embrace and enhance our authentic path through the incredible power of ritual? I love the word ritual. I think it is so magical. I actually realize I don't think I've looked up the etymology of it yet, which is strange because I usually do that for words I love this much. But it reminds me a bit of the word worship, the original meaning of which was to be in a state of worthiness, to practice worthiness. I mean, what better thing could there be than that? So today we're joined by the wonderful Rachel. She is a folk herbalist, an intuitive mentor, human design guide, yoga therapist, and the founder of her lifestyle brand, Intuitively Wild. After years of navigating personal challenges in her own life, including an eating disorder, poor mental health, and toxic habits, Rachel discovered the transformative power of a ritualistic lifestyle that brought her back into an emotionally, physically, and spiritually healthy state. The Intuitively Wild philosophy is centered around a holistic approach to well-being, rooted in the belief that a strong connection to nature, oneself, and others, along with personalized rituals, is the key to living a mentally healthy life. Her clients learn to support themselves on a foundational level so that they can finally align with their true authenticity and thrive, no matter what life brings. And if you're living in three-dimensional reality along with the rest of us on planet Earth right now, life is bringing a heck of a lot right now, in case you hadn't noticed. And you might be finding that especially if you are spending too much time on the interwebs, doom scrolling yourself into a state of catatonic fear and anxiety, in which case this is a conversation that I believe is going to serve you. So thank you again for being here. It's an absolute pleasure, and please enjoy the show. When you hear the words, "we are already free," what comes up for you?
Acceptance.
Change.
A shift in awareness.
Human beings are so powerful.
There's so much more.
Everything is love behind it.
Breaking the chains of your own mind.
That which remains.
Nature.
Getting out of the matrix.
We're sitting on the treasure and it's already unlocked.
We are already free.
You're free.
You are a walking map.
Have always been free.
You are always free, already free.
We are already free.
Yay! Welcome to the podcast, Rachel. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to talk to you.
There's so much we could dive into here, and we will dive into, and this is what I love about having a podcast. It gives me a really good excuse to talk to wonderful people like yourself. So thank you. And also to anyone who's joining us live, thank you and welcome. Please do comment. Let us know if you have any questions, any feedback, any reflections. We'd love to hear from you. And of course, if you're listening to this as a recorded podcast, then rad. It's so good to have you here. So Rachel, let's get into it. I am, as always, super curious around these moments of transition, these moments of transformation. I think you speak to it, and we may get into that a little later or even now, but this idea of the caterpillar and the transformative process that it has to go through to become what it came here to be. But for now, how did you go from, I mean, because it's in a way almost a bit of a leap to go from like, I'm very unwell in these various ways, maybe I need more ritual. Like, how does one make that leap? And yeah, what happened for you there?
Yeah, it's interesting because I've always been very drawn to spiritual practices. So even in my lowest moments, it was something that I had in my life, and it actually did me harm in some ways because I can take things to the extreme and got very into different practices that weren't serving me but were considered spiritual or healthy in certain realms. And so it wasn't that far of a reach for me personally because it was already such a part of my life. And I just realized how these practices that already were a part of my life, but I had taken to an extreme or weren't serving me, it was because I had made them into my routine. I had made them things I had to do. I had made them rules, and I put structure and rigidity into them. And I realized that when I could get present with it, when I could make them rituals and I could be intentional and really choose what I needed in each moment, that shifted everything for me. So in some ways, it wasn't what I was doing, it was how and why I was doing it.
Oh, that's so interesting. Okay, so you already had ritual in place. You already were involved in sort of spiritual practices, but there was an attitude or an approach that was harmful for you. And could you take us, I mean, I know it might be painful to revisit too much, but like at least I'm just curious around what did it get? What was like the dark moment? How dark did it get for you? And because I think it's such an important part of the any hero's journey is that part where it's like, I don't think I'm going to make it through this. And what did that look like for you, especially as someone who already, I guess from the outside would have been like, well, you're already spiritually oriented. You've got all these cool practices. Like, why the hell wasn't any of that working? And I know you've expressed some of that, but what was going on for you when you should have, by all, outside things, everything should have been great?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'm very open about my story because I think it's so important to talk about, because on the outside, everyone did think I was the picture of health and the perfect person to look up to, and people, complimented my discipline and all the practices I was doing, and that only fueled the fire. And on the inside, my rock bottom moment was when I was waking up every morning, not sure how I was going to continue on, and not feeling like I could open up to anyone, feeling like I had to keep up the perfect facade of always being okay and always being the one to help others, and never tuning into my emotions and what I needed. And I know I'm not alone in having this not enough thought in my head, always going and going, and always wanting to be perfect and be perceived in a certain way. And so for me, it was really this moment of, I can't do this anymore. If I keep going like this, I'm not going to survive. Mentally, I was hitting a wall, and also physically my body was starting to break down, and I kept having panic attacks. And so there was a lot going on emotionally and mentally and physically that I reached a point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. And even though everyone on the outside thought I was doing so well, I was very isolated and disconnected in my own world.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. There's that, and I've brought this up on the podcast many times before, but the top regrets of the dying. I think that story really, I don't know if you ever came across that blog post and then the book, but the top one being, I wish I had the courage to be more true to myself and not like worry about what other people expected of me. And it's interesting because some of us hit that so early, but then for some, it is literally on the deathbed of like, oh man, I could have done this another way. And hearing you say that, it's like the pain of the outside seeing you one way, but your inside feeling another way, is that, like the lack of congruency there was just so much friction and so much pain on multiple levels, physical, psycho, like mental, emotional, that all were manifesting in these different ways. I can hear how that would have just eventually been like a pressure cooker that just had to blow. And so was there a single moment where you woke up one day, or someone said something, or something happened, or was it like a slow shift into like, actually I can't keep doing this?
It definitely was a slow shift, although I do have a specific moment in my head, but I think overall it was a slow shift. But I had this one moment where I just remember waking up, and I think I had many mornings like this, but there was one in particular where I was like, I can't do this anymore. But there was no particular reason why that morning I had
Amazing.
that.
Yeah, give thanks to your angels or something. Okay, so So let's then move into this idea around intentional living or ritualistic living. Like, what is the difference? You said something about being present, or, so I'm just interested, why does it differ from having a daily routine or like just going through the motions of doing what you need to do? Like, why does it matter?
Yeah, this is such a big one because I think our society really talks about the importance of routines, and I'm a very routine-oriented person. Routine works for me. I love my structure. But when we fall too much into routine, we can get stuck in, like I was saying before, the rules, the rigidity, and we can just fall into autopilot mode. And we're not thinking about why we're doing what we're doing and how it's actually impacting us. We're so caught up in what we should be doing, what people have told us to do, what we're expected to do. And when we can bring the intentionality back into it, we start to be present with ourselves and what we actually need. We start to take the rules out of it and start to be like, what would truly serve me in this moment? What is truly right for me personally and no one else? And we also get out of our own way with our mind and what our brain's telling us, and we really tune into the truth at the core and how we feel in our heart.
And for someone because it's beautiful to hear you say that, and then a part of me is also like, okay, but like, say I'm super disconnected from that and I have no idea what that even means. Like, how do I connect with this strange, ephemeral, just like surrender to the flow of the joy of being alive thing? Like, tell me more about that.
Yeah. I'm a very practical person. I'm a very spiritual person, but I like tangible, practical tools that can apply for everyone, that feel really grounded and relatable. Sorry, you might be able to hear my dog barking.
That's all good.
I always want people to start really simple. It starts with connecting to yourself, just having 5 minutes every day where you are purely connecting to yourself. And I really think journaling is the best way to start because you're having a conversation with yourself and just writing at the top of your page, how am I feeling today? Or what do I need to be honest with myself about today? Or what do I need today? And just writing and not thinking about it, not filtering it, not stopping yourself, just letting it come through you for at least, I would try for 5 minutes, but at least 1 minute, and see what comes. I think when I work with my clients on this, most are very surprised when they first start to see what comes through that. But that is where it begins, starting to have this conversation with yourself and getting out of your own way, getting out of your mind. And we all are intuitive beings. And I think you would find that it's a more practical, tangible thing than the world might initially tell us it is.
I like that. I like how you're bringing this sort of spiritual and the practical together. And I think this is honestly one of the ways I wrestle with this idea of niches, like if we're just a bit of a segue, but it has a point in that as I'm growing a business that is to the best of my ability, heart-centered and authentic, that is around serving the people I'm here to serve, the feedback I get from the coaches I work with, the mentors, the programs, it's always like, you got to have your niche, man. You got to have your niche. What's your niche? And so I'm always trying to like niche down into this thing. I'm like, but it's all available for all of us. But anyway, I'm having fun with it more now than I used to. But one of the ways that I've experimented with speaking about my niche is down to earth seekers or down to earth misfits. And specifically like down to earth seekers is important for me because so much of what I see as being spirituality today is really fluffy. It's really floaty. It's really cloudy. And it's all about get high, high vibrations, good vibes only. Like that's all we're here for. And the piece that is completely missing there is, as a musician, as a songwriter, someone who cherishes the variation in the melody of life, is that if you had a song that was only high vibrations and was only treble notes, it would be freaking terrible. It would be absolutely atrocious. You would go mad trying to listen to that song. You need the bass. You need the deep roots of the tree of life that sink into the dark fecund soil and create stability as it explores the minerals hidden in the dark places so that the tree can rise up high and experience the trebles and the floating in the wind and the beautiful. So anyway, when I hear you say that, honestly, practical spirituality, like I am all in. Sold, I'll take it.
Oh my God, I resonate with so much of what you just said. First of all, I also have had such a hard time niching myself down, and this is a whole other conversation that we don't need to go into, but I'm not sure if you're familiar with human design, but I'm a manifesting generator, and you might be too. But manifesting generators are very multi-passionate and multifaceted, and all of us as humans are. It's so hard to niche ourselves down, but I also am a very emotional person. And one reason why I had gotten to such a low point in my life is because I felt like I wasn't allowed to be. I felt like I couldn't feel my emotions. I couldn't express them. I always had to be this even-keeled, peaceful, happy, calm yogi. And when I learned how to feel my emotions and express them, I learned that they are so healing for me. I'm here to express my emotions. I'm here to communicate about them. I'm here to help others feel and express them as well. And just like you were saying, the reason that I can now help others in the way I do and connect with myself and the world in the way that I do is because I've gone to the depths of my emotions, because I am comfortable feeling all of my emotions, and because I know that there is so much growth and joy within the sadness, within the pain. There is so much to be like, it's part of the nourishment that is given to our soil so that we can grow, to use that analogy. So everything you were saying, I could not agree more.
Yeah, you remind me when you said joy there, and we can segue all we like, by the way. We're our own bosses here. We can do what we like. And I trust that anyone listening is getting exactly what they need right now. So there's a tribe called the Hunikuin who come from the Amazon and spread medicines from the jungle with people around the world. And they come to South Africa a few times a year. And and we sit with sacred medicines. And at times these things can be very challenging. And one of the things they do that has taught me so much and has been so challenging as well is sometimes when I'm feeling really rough and I'm head deep in a bucket in the middle of the night wondering what the hell I'm doing here and why is this happening to me and why would I ever put myself in a position like this, I will just hear one of them say, "So alegria," which means only joy or all is joy. And they'll say it intentionally when there's a really dark vibe in the room. And they'll sometimes say it like a question. They'll be like, "So alegria? Like, are you guys still remembering that it's all joy? Like, are you still, have you forgotten?" And it's such a beautiful thing because it's come through at times when I've been like in the worst victim, like everything's terrible. I'm a failure. It's all falling apart. I'm never going to get through. And then they say it and I'll be like, oh, I choose this. This is all me. I get to choose how I show up for this. And that's such a relief. So I love what you said about like that, those depths you can still bring joy. Joy can come through in those depths when we really embrace them. So yeah, thank you for that reflection.
Yeah, that reminds me of a mantra that I have found myself saying a lot, even still, but especially when I struggled so much with my anxiety and was feeling like the world was just closing in on me. I kept saying to myself, there is peace here and now. Even amongst all of this, there's peace here now. There's peace within every moment and every experience. And I feel like peace and joy are deeply connected. So I love that story.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And okay, so back to ritual and the splendors of ritual. Do you by any chance, and it's totally cool if you don't, because not everyone is as much of a weird word nerd as I am, but have you looked up the etymology of the word weird? I mean, of the word ritual. Jeez, that was crazy. I have looked up the etymology of the word weird, which is why it was on my mind.
I actually have not, which I heard your intro, and it's weird for me too because I love looking up those types of things, but I have not looked it up for ritual, which which is quite interesting because it's one of my main words. So
I
that'll
have
be
good
my
news
homework
for you.
assignment.
I have good news for you, which is that I actually have a little like etymology library in my Notion page, which I have open to have all your information right now. And so I've looked up ritual before. It turns out I had forgotten. It means to observe carefully. To observe carefully, which I love.
I love that. I love that. And that brings up a lot for me because, like I was saying before, ritual allows us to bring presence back into our life. It allows us to go from the autopilot of routine to fully alive. And rituals require us to observe carefully what's going on, how we're feeling, what we need, and then to choose the practice and the energy and the lifestyle that will best serve us in this moment. So that's my interpretation, or what's coming to my mind right now when you tell me that.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, okay. Well, let's swing back into practicality. And if we are, I know you said by the way, about journaling. I absolutely agree. I actually have come up with my own acronym, which I call the RISE routine. And the first part, the R is reflect, which is journaling. Basically, it's some form of reflection in a way that we're getting to like move the thoughts through. And so, yeah, I'm all in on a morning RISE routine for sure. And I'm curious around, because for many of us, honestly, even for myself, a lot of the time, I say even for myself as if I've got my shit all sorted, but for myself as well as many others, coming into presence actually feels a little scary because my system is quite accustomed to distraction at this point. It's accustomed to social media use, to like streaming stuff, I can very easily go an entire day without a moment of presence if I so choose. And in fact, it's the easy thing to default to. So how do you encourage someone who might say, okay, I want more ritual in my life, but ritual is going to come with more presence. There's like a potential feeling of discomfort there. What is a kind way to begin that journey, to take a step? And I know, as you said, 5 minutes of journaling, maybe it's that same thing. But are there any other ways throughout the day that I can just invite that little bit more ritual in, that little bit more of like returning to the sacred, to the presence, to actually being in my life here and now?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I believe that a lot of it starts with silence, stillness, and self-connection. So I think if we can take pauses in our day where even for just 20 seconds, we are stepping outside or going somewhere in silence, placing a hand on our heart and just being still and coming back to ourselves, that can ground us, that can regulate our nervous system, and that can build a pause into our day so that we are drawn back into ourselves. And it is going to feel uncomfortable. It is going to sometimes feel like it might bring up a lack of safety. It does, because we have gone in this other direction where distraction and stimulation is what has started to make us feel safe and in control and comfortable. When we start to build in these rituals and intentional moments, it can feel destabilizing. And so that's why I think placing a hand on our heart, bringing that contact to ourselves and just taking some deep breaths and coming back to ourselves not only brings the intention into it, but also reminds us that we are safe, that we are safe in this moment, we are safe in this practice. And you can even say those words to yourself in that moment. And if it's really hard at first, you can do it while you're listening to music, you can do it while you're walking, but just having these moments where you are somehow bringing in some sort of stillness or silence or self-connection, or in some way, multiple aspects of those, and drawing back into how you're feeling and back into your body. I think that's how it starts.
Thank you. And I suppose some people, I'm kind of just curious around, because you work with people to support them in this specifically, and I know you have several different sort of skill sets that you bring together in this, and you're welcome to share about any of those at any point if you choose. But in this moment, I'm curious around, what are some of the things that people are struggling with when they come to you? And then what are some of the transformations you witness in people, even if there's a story you could share, while obviously respecting privacy, of like someone who's come to you and been in a certain state that was really challenging, and what they've experienced through that shift, if that's available to share.
Yeah. I work with so many different people, but a theme that often comes up is getting so caught up in the noise. Kind of like what I was talking about before with my own experience, getting so caught up in the rules and the shoulds and the expectations, and not even questioning what they are doing, and not even realizing how it's not aligned for them. And so we really get to the root of why people are doing what they're doing and what it is that they truly want personally, because it's so different for everyone. If we really get down to it, our true desires are really unique, because we all come here with our own path and our own purpose. And so I really help people understand what that is for them and how they can build a lifestyle around embracing that. And so people go from living on autopilot and just showing up for their lives and going through the motions and doing what everyone's expecting them to, and living very disconnected, living in a constant state of dysregulation, a constant state of anxiety or self-criticism, even self-hatred, to really being gentle and compassionate with themselves, often slowing down, having this softening within themselves. And that doesn't mean that they're doing less or showing up slower. It just means that they're starting to be more present, bring a different energy to our lives. Again, it's not necessarily about what you're doing, it's about how you're doing it. But often we realize that what they're doing is not in alignment. And then we figure out the rituals to build into their everyday lifestyle, because that's something I'm also really passionate about, is not only figuring out what it is you want and starting to do it. I mean, this is a place to start, but starting to do it in your free time or on the weekends, but really making it your everyday lifestyle, like really crafting the life that you truly want and embodying it every day, because we all deserve that. And that comes back to the joy. We all deserve joy. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you. I love that. I'm curious around, I know I'm kind of circling back to something we mentioned at the beginning, but the story of the caterpillar is a really profound one for me. It's something I've thought a lot about. And I can't remember, because I kind of looked through your notes and read some of your Substack a while ago. So I don't know why, but I have something about a caterpillar in my notes and I don't remember why. So could you tell me, is that an important image or symbol for you? And if so, what's the story?
Yeah, well, I use nature analogies all the time, and butterflies are my lucky sign. So I don't know, I can't remember specifically what you're referencing, but butterflies are very symbolic to me, and I see them wherever I go, and it's just kind of a symbol of you're meant to be here, you're on the right path. And for me, I really had to embrace the different phases of my journey, and to really lean into trusting my timing and supporting others and trusting their own timing. Because again, we are taught that life is a step-by-step process and everyone follows the same path and everyone's supposed to show up in the same way. And you go to college, you get the degree, you get the job, and if there's one thing I've learned in life, it's that everyone's path is meant to be unique. And if your path looks the same as everyone else's, it's probably not your own. And some people spend more time in one phase than the next. And often we have to be in this caterpillar phase, this pause phase, this slower phase, this processing and growing phase before we can become the butterfly and spread our wings. And life is also a spiral. So we're going to end up being the caterpillar again and need to go through the process again. And I am constantly reminding myself that nature has these analogies that we can reference to show us that every part of life goes through this, and every everyone is on their own path and their own journey, and we have to allow ourselves to go through the different stages and not always be in the beautiful butterfly spreading its wings phase. Like, that's not always the goal. That's not always the purpose and where we're meant to be.
Yeah, thank you for that. I love it. I think the reason that you wrote an article some time ago on Substack that was talking about a caterpillar can't know what it has to go through to become a butterfly, which I just think
yes,
is so
I remember that actually. Yeah, because when the caterpillar is starting to build its cocoon, it doesn't know what it's doing. It just starts to, on instinct, through intuition, build this cocoon around itself, and it doesn't know, and then it turns into goo within the cocoon, and it doesn't know that then it's going to turn into this beautiful butterfly that the world just loves. And so I think about that a lot. Like, when you're starting to feel like you're building these walls around yourself or going through this process that you don't understand or turning into goo, you don't know what's going to come on the other side of that.
Yeah, exactly. As I said, I've thought about the caterpillar story a lot. And one of the things I considered is the part that often gets missed out, which is the egg phase. Because I haven't, and the egg comes from the butterfly. So the butterfly, when I think of, so I think this, and you might appreciate this as someone who's kind of had a similar path around spirituality, at least, of this whole idea of having to be like high vibes all the time. But our modern sort of world of everyone seeking some kind of enlightenment is obsessed with the butterfly stage, which is the state where you get to fly around floating effortlessly through the air. And we can give that as an analogy for enlightenment, the state of being in total flow with reality. But if we look at nature, which I think is a really good idea, as you suggested, everything in nature dies, everything ends. So the the butterfly ends. It lays eggs, it pollinates flowers, it makes new life, it does incredible things, and then it lays eggs and it dies. And the cycle begins again. And those eggs, that's that period of actually being in the womb, of being totally taken care of and being totally like there's nothing for you to do. You're completely, all your nourishment is there with you. And then at some point you've got to break out of that little shell and kind of expand. And the next phase, interestingly, is the caterpillar, which I saw a bunch of caterpillars on a tree at my dad's house some years ago, and they demolished that tree. They totally wrecked that tree. Like, they went all in on that tree. And I was like, this is so intense. But at the same time, that's what caterpillars are here to do. They're here to eat and eat and eat. And they seem insatiable and like it's never going to end. And then someday they go, oh my gosh, I'm feeling a little different. Like, I need something different in my life right now. And then, as you said, they don't know what's happening, but they go and start weaving this cocoon and then dissolve through faith, because what else do they have to help them to know that it's going to be okay on the other side? Dissolve into faith. And on the other side, there's a butterfly. And I think that humanity right now has been in the caterpillar phase for quite a long while. Like, we've been devouring everything of our host. We've been just in a state of total taking. And I see us now, and I have hope that we are in a very serious cocoon phase now, where many of us are dissolving into mush or have dissolved into mush. And in fact, our society, that's the part I don't know that we've really gone through yet as a society, but is society dissolving into mush, which is going to be super gnarly for anyone, for all of us, but definitely for those who are just holding on to the caterpillar. And then I know that we will, as a society, be reborn into butterflies. Anyway, thank you for listening to my caterpillar story.
No, I love that. I've never thought about it in that way. And I hope that our society is getting there too. And because what I was thinking when you were talking is about social media and how our world glorifies and only talks about the butterfly phase. And on social media, it's all the highlight reels and all people talking about their butterfly phase, when really I think so many of us are going through that dismantling and are having this pause and reflection time of, oh, what I'm doing isn't working. But no one else is. And this is changing. I think people are starting to be more open, and I think we're starting to have more of these conversations, which both of us, I know, are passionate about having. But a lot of people are still presenting to the world that they are in this constant butterfly phase, and that's the only phase that's important, or the only phase that's worth celebrating. And it's not true at all.
Yeah, well said. I love that thought around social media. I do see that being so common. I have such wrestles with social media. I wonder, one of the questions I ask myself honestly is, no matter how switched on any of us are, or awake or sovereign or self-empowered, if we are still spending the majority of our time communicating with one another through social media, are we ever really truly free? Like, are those changes that we're asking for ever really going to happen? Because so far, I wonder. I have a lot of doubts. My general leaning is that social media has given us what it can give us. It's shown us that there are people free birthing and using herbs and doing rituals. And it's like, cool, you got the information. Now go live your life using it. But I'm also saying that as someone who struggled with social media addiction and still struggles with it. So I have a bit of a biased sort of perspective on that.
No, I mean, I really agree with you. I didn't have social media for years. I got off all social media, and part of that was because I kind of wanted to stay private and stay hidden, and also because I wanted to be this ultra spiritual person who did things differently. So there's different layers to this. But when I got back on, it was mainly for my business. And like you said, there's good to it. And there are stories to hear and share, and ways that the connection is really serving us. But ultimately, I do think that if we were all being really honest with ourselves, we've gotten the knowledge that we need to get. We've gotten the connection that we need to get. And if we want to truly apply all that we're learning and start to embody it in our life, we have to start disconnecting from the technology, the social media of it all.
Yeah, it's like a challenging perspective to hold in today's world. I actually just created last year a 21-day dopamine detox challenge, which is all about helping people who are struggling primarily with tech addiction, although it can help with other dopamine hungry uses. But it's been amazing to see me going through it, and then other people, and just seeing like the really simple stuff, but really big results, like just reclaiming our time and space, ritualizing some of those things that we have turned into, this is crazy. Like, no one knows this. Anyone listening to this episode, it might be out by the time this episode comes out. It probably will, because I won't be able to sit on it. Excuse the pun. But I am thinking about writing a post on Substack called Conscious Defecation or something like that. Because like, honestly, I don't know this is like maybe TMI, but like, I don't remember, or I do now because I've become conscious, but how many times I just go to the toilet and I just take my phone with me, or even a book. But like, the amount of times, and sorry if this is too much information, people, but honestly, going to the toilet is such an important part of the human process. That feeling, if you do that consciously and you sit with that experience, it's fucking amazing. It's a relief. It's letting go of what no longer serves. It's releasing what is no longer yours, what has been processed and what remains and what needs to go. And if you become conscious to that experience, it's beautiful. It's powerful. It's transformative. Anyway, this is what I'm saying. I haven't talked about this yet because I'm like, I am crazy. I probably shouldn't be talking about this.
No, but I think it speaks to the point that ritual can be a part of our everyday life. Like, it's about having it be a lifestyle and not just a one-off, once in a while thing. Really making our lives intentional, our whole lives. And it doesn't have to be something that, that can sound far reaching for many people, but it's really just about pausing and being honest with ourselves and being willing to be uncomfortable. And for many people, it is uncomfortable to pause and be like, do I really need to look at my phone right now? And what would happen if for 5 deep breaths, instead of touching my phone, I just sit in silence? And yeah, that can be, like I said, very uncomfortable, can be very destabilizing, it can be very confronting, but it also can start to bring intention and presence and ritual into our everyday life.
Yeah, well said. I love that. And you're speaking to preaching to the choir here, because I so feel this. I'm actually in the midst of a somatic coaching certification. And for anyone, it's like more and more I understand why so much of what so many of us are going through is dysregulated nervous systems, and actually just this not having the capacity to feel some of the big things that we went through or that have come up in our lives, not having a way to allow that to move through our systems. And so we get stuck, and then we have coping mechanisms, etc. But at one point in the course, because we're obviously all going through it, and I've been working with clients with it, it's amazing. It's so cool. But anyway, I said at one point, like, the idea of just sitting still is scary for me. Like, it brings up anxiety. And the coach, Matthew, this is Body-Based Breakthrough for anyone who ever hasn't heard of it. It's freaking rad. But he said, okay, well, how about we do an experiment where when this call's over, you just go and you set a timer for 1 minute and you just sit with the anxiety. You just say, okay, I'm here and I'm going to feel you and I'm with you. And honestly, within that minute, and I'm not saying this would happen every time for everyone, but for me, within that minute, that anxiety turned into love. I felt it dissolve and become love. I was like, well, that was unexpected.
Yeah, sitting with the discomfort, that's actually a coping mechanism tool that I learned that exact phrasing when I was in treatment, because I was in treatment for my eating disorder. And when you're at a certain level of treatment, they take away your phone, they take away all your technology, and you're just in this house 24/7 with people watching you. When you first get there, you can't even go to the bathroom by yourself. Shit. And that was quite a shift for me from being a hyper independent person, always doing everything by myself. And I had so many moments where I just had to sit in the discomfort and start to find safety within that and start to learn how to embrace that. And that experience is now what allows me to push against my discomfort zone more and more. And I think more people need to learn how to find safety in sitting in the discomfort.
That is amazing. And thank you so much. I don't have anything else that feels present to bring up or to ask. I feel like we've covered what I've been really interested in around ritual and around why it's important and what it can help people with, and just how to get started. So is there anything else that you feel is like, I need to say this thing, or I'm going to be sad that I didn't? Or do you feel complete for now? Otherwise, I'll move us into the ending phase.
What I really want to emphasize is that it's not about doing any specific ritual or doing it any specific way. It's about really understanding what works for you, what your life path is, what your desire is pulling you towards, and honoring that and getting out of the noise and tuning into the truth of your heart and letting and just doing what works for you. So I just wanted to say that.
Beautiful. Thank you. Well, where can people find more about you? Because I imagine you have some good resources that can help people to tune into those aspects of, like, even what is it that's calling me, or what is it that I'm here to take action on, to get involved in, to be, etc. So where would you direct people from this point?
Yeah, everything is under my brand name, Intuitively Wild. So my Instagram, my Substack, podcast, YouTube, website. And that is one of the main things I do with my mentorship clients, is really help them understand what it is that they want and how they can create that lifestyle through ritual. And I also have an online apothecary and many different offerings, but all of it is Intuitively Wild.
Beautiful. Intuitively Wild. Thank you. And we didn't even get to the fact into it too much that you're a herbalist, you're a yogi, you got all kinds of cool stuff. But anyway, I'm sure that people will find more about you in those wonderful spaces. And again, thank you for the work you're doing. Thank you for reminding us all to bring ritual back, to return to ritual as a really powerful and foundational way of actually just returning to the present moment. So thank you. And one final question, as always. When you hear "we are already free" in this moment, what comes up for you?
Well, what comes up for me, I have a tattoo actually that says freedom on it, on my arm. And I got it right when I left treatment, because it was a reminder that I am free and that I can choose freedom. And for me, I do believe that we all are already free, as long as we choose to be, as long as we decide to get to know ourselves and decide to work through all the conditioning and all the rules and structures that have been placed on us and that we've placed ourselves in, and free ourselves, then we are already free.
Thank you. What a lovely reflection. And there's something so profound hearing your reflection coming from that place of darkness, as we've talked about, of like that tattoo coming after you had been through a dark night of the soul, of like as low as it can get, that feeling of, I imagine, a lot of hopelessness, a lot of fear, a lot of pain, and all shame, all those feelings that come with this thing of like, oh, who am I? What have I done? Why am I doing this? And yet you come out of that with freedom. I mean, that's pretty profound.
Yeah, and that just spoke to something else that I'm really passionate about talking about, which is often the things that we feel the most shame around and the things that we think we need to hide the most and that we can't talk about are the things that we need to embrace about ourselves and connect with others on in order to be free.
Thank you for that. I think that was a message for me. So thanks. And wish you well, very well, Rachel. And I'll see you in the green room in just a moment. But for now, thanks again. It's been a pleasure to have you here, and I hope to see you on again sometime.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much to everyone for listening.
All right, gorgeous humans. That was another episode of We Are Already Free, this time with the wonderful Rachel Levine. What a glorious story, and I know that we could have dived so deep into so many things, but my sincere hope is, and my belief is, that if you have listened this far, then you have gained something of sincere value and that you have some next steps. The remembrance that ritual is a very direct path to presence and to authenticity and to intentional living, and all it takes is being willing to sit in the discomfort of the present moment. Put your hands on your heart, take a few breaths, and just notice being here now. Even when you go to the toilet, which is not something I'm sure many of you were hoping or expecting to hear in today's episode. So again, thank you so much to Rachel. Please do check out all her links. I will have them in the show notes as always. And if you are doom scrolling too much, if you're finding yourself hooked into the stream of inane information, some of which is terrible, some of which is good, some of which makes you think, oh, I'm going to change my life now that I've seen that, but then half an hour, 45 minutes, 2 hours later, you're just scrolling through 1,000 more things. If that is you and you have a life that you really want to live before it's too late, please sign up for the 21-day dopamine detox challenge. It is at alreadyfree.me/reset. Yes, it's in the show notes. And yes, it is free. And it may not be free forever, but it is now. And it will help you to make the changes that you need to make and that you are being called to make to show up in a different and more empowered way for yourself and for the world. So you can live this beautiful freaking life that you came here to live. Time is moving. The present moment is carrying us towards our graves at pace. So please do sign up. And other than that, it's just been a total pleasure as always. You're amazing. We will be back next week with more of this podcast. And until then, please remember, as always, we are already free. I'll see you next time.